today I am joined by a longtime friend of mine. She's also my soror and my sans, and she is a very talented clinician. Today we have Dr. Nyasha Chikawore with us, and we are going to be talking dating, red flags, green flags, and all of the mess that's in between.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, friend.
Yes, it's always a pleasure, and I love having friends in the studio with me so we can, do the things and have a good time as well.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's just get into this. So we've all probably dated someone that we had to explain some things, and when people are asked like, "How did you not see that?" Or after you stop dating them, they're like, "Oh well, I saw blah 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 blah," and you're like, "Why ain't nobody tell me?" Right? So in your opinion, Dr. Nyasha, I'll start calling you Nyasha in a little bit.
Okay.
Dr. Nyasha, why are red flags so easy to spot in hindsight, but very blurry in the moment?
Well, I mean, it's love, depending on the level, the relationship you were in, but it's infatuation, love, all those lovey-dovey hormones that we get, the dopamine, the adrenaline that keeps us hooked on people, which is why people say love is like a drug or a mental illness, either one. Because all those things are firing in our brains that make us blind, so to speak, to the red flags. Yeah,
Okay. So did you just break down why people say love is blind?
pretty much. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Right. Obviously. But you gave a high level.
that was all. We just get blinded to the true facts that are in front of us.
Absolutely. So basically, when we're thinking we're in love, we're basically hopped up on feel good hormones and we're just looking for the next fix. Do you think it's intuition people are ignoring or something else?
That's a tough question. I think there's so many factors and layers, right? So we think
Yeah.
about, especially as people who do this mental health work, we ask people about their backgrounds and upbringing. So, what did you see growing up, especially as it relates to love? So, some of it is just learned, modeled behavior of this is what happens when you meet a significant other, and this is how it should go. Some of it is that, ignoring the red flags. Some of it is like, do you have intuition and do you listen to it? Because
Okay.
everyone has varying levels of that. And some of it is just who are you involved with and what are their goals in the situation? Because we also know people can manipulate others or,
Hmm.
there's various levels of coercion and whatnot. So that's a loaded question in terms of like what happens when people get involved with other people.
Yeah, yeah. I like that you mentioned the background, right? Because that's what normalizes things for us, right? Because we either repeat when we're unaware of like behaviors and cycles and things like that. And then sometimes we actively choose to change it. And then, sometimes we're operating in the middle of those two things. And sometimes you're not aware until someone brings it to your attention. And dating, it's definitely going to show up in dating and friendships because those are the closest relationships after family. So, in your opinion, what are the most commonly ignored red flags that people tend to see early in dating?
I can't think of specific ones. I think that the most common theme that I've seen is I'm not comfortable with this thing, but I'm gonna push through or insert excuse here. So he doesn't call me back when he says he will, but I'm sure it's because XYZ. So I need to just change my expectations.
Ooh, so that's adapting, right? And it's okay to do some adapting in relationships, but if you're the only one adapting, are your needs being met? Are you really being present in the relationship?
Yeah, I think there's adapting, but also um not getting your needs met in the relationship or in the dating. Okay, this he's not going to do this or she's not going to do this. So I just won't expect that. and I'm not happy about it, but I'm gonna push it to the side until everyone reaches their boiling point or point of just being tired.
And I think you're correct. Sometimes it can be a boiling point, and they think it's the fault of the other person when really it's their own for not expressing, right? Because what is not expressed can easily become resentment. And then that shows up in our behaviors and in the relationship. And so, what I hear you saying is that what I hear is also that sometimes people are settling to be in relationship. They're going along to get along.
Yeah, I've had countless
Yeah.
people, just friends and in sessions, say, like, "I don't know what's on the other side of this. I don't wanna go back to dating. I don't wanna be alone, so
Mhm.
it is
Mhm.
what it is. Like, this is better than nothing," and
Yeah.
that causes a lot of harm.
Yeah. Something is better than nothing is settling. And I wonder if people heard the language that that is settling, if that would change things for them. Because they're essentially going with what they know, what they understand. They're comfortable with this because they know what to expect and it's familiar. But like you said, it can be very damaging for all parties involved.
But some people are also taught that settling is okay. Like,
Yeah.
some people are told, like, "You will never get the full package," which, of course, no one gets the full package, but, your happiness doesn't matter. Like, your obligation is to be with another person because that tells us what your worth is, If you're single, what's the problem? Why are you single? Why can't you attract a mate? So yeah.
That's a whole other episode in itself.
Right.
About the pressures of dating and then value being based on your relationship status, where almost marriage is put on this pedestal, and for some people it is an idol. Like this is what they do, and then they get there and they find out may not be all that it's cracked up to be. Like you checked all the boxes, but is this what you were really looking for? But yeah, we could definitely dive into that one more for sure. So speaking of, like, people not calling and doing what they say they would do, right, why do these things like inconsistency, emotional distance, or even those mixed signals, why do you think those things are labeled as normal in dating now?
Oh, that's a tough one. Well, we all have phones. So we all really do have 24/7 access to people. So, I think there's this big push for like free will, autonomy. We're in a very individualistic society, being, in the States and in Western places where like you have to take care of you and that's the main thing that matters. So, yeah, I don't have to respond to your text. I don't owe you a call back just because you called me. Like there's just been this big push for people to be individuals and go no contact with family and to not feel obligated to other people. And I think that's showing up a lot in the dating space where it's like, boundaries, boundaries, shut off your phone at this time, or just because I'm posting doesn't mean I want to talk to you. So I see that showing up a lot just in navigating communication in general.
Yeah, that's so good, Nyasha. I just thought about that when, like, you probably saw my eyes get big on the just because I'm scrolling, it doesn't mean I'm available because we do have so much access and all these indicators to show our presence online, people can take things personally. Like, I'm not scrolling because I'd rather be talking to someone else than you, as much as someone might be scrolling because they're like, I'm just trying to catch up and see what happened today, or I'm just doing something to pass some time. And people can definitely internalize that to mean something else. And don't give people an opportunity to explain, right? And speaking of emotional distance, I've noticed something. People don't ask for phone numbers the way that they used to. They ask for your socials now more. Speaking of distance, what are your thoughts on that?
I was just having that conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking about how when you get someone's phone number, it seems too intentional in a way because I have to use it. I have to text you or call you, and that's very direct communication. Whereas if I get your Instagram, if you pop up on my feed, I can see, "Oh, look what Jeannie's doing." Okay, like, and then I can go on about my business. But if I say, "Hey, Jeannie," via text, then we're in a conversation and I'm kind of locked in versus social media, which technically is low effort. And I still am in touch with you, even though I'm not in touch with you. So I think that's why people are preferring social media, and you're less likely to be rejected if someone asks for your Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever they're asking for versus a phone number, you know?
Okay. Okay. So
You have to
if
I
someone
see them swirling. You're like, "Ask for my number, please. I don't have time for these."
for real, like, ask for my number, okay, please. But hey, if all that's what you asked for, you coulda asked for the number, you asked for the socials, okay. And then I might be looking at you a little different after hearing Dr. Nyasha's advice about intentionality. No.
The first step is the socials, and they're like, "Okay, let me look around." 'Cause I do know some men look at women's Instagrams to see, okay, what kind of person is she? What is she posting? Who is she friends with? Do we have mutuals that I need to know about? And then they'll go from there and ask for a number in your DMs, and maybe that's, easier for some.
So people are doing a whole lot more research
Good way to
before they even get to a text message or even a phone call. Yeah, this is interesting. So people shouldn't be offended if someone asks for their socials and not their numbers. That's just how we doing it now. Is that what it
I mean,
is?
we know that "should" is a bad word in psychology world, so I won't say shouldn't be. I think it depends on what you prefer and what you would like to happen. And I
Okay.
think it's also okay to say, "Hey, I don't give people my social. If you wanna reach out to me, here's my phone number." I think it's okay to say that. So,
That's good. So it's okay to say what you prefer. And that's a good way to start normalizing and implementing boundaries early because boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're also about, allowing people in. So talk to me in your opinion, how do people confuse chemistry, attraction, and familiarity to be emotional safety?
again, a tough question. I think, in terms of, like, that upbringing piece we're talking about, if you're in a chaotic household, safety to you may be more chaos as you age and grow up. It could be like, "Oh, I'm compatible with this person because I feel comfortable." It feels, we've all heard someone say, "It feels like I've known this person my whole life." And what was happening in your whole life? Chaos. So this person brings that same energy and you're like, "This is great. I like this." But on the outside, your friends are like, "This is not it. This isn't healthy for you." But I think that's the hard part when we say we get butterflies in chemistry, because sometimes that's an indication that we're being triggered by that comfort of trauma or chaos or whatever was going on in our upbringing, or from one parent or another, that just isn't healthy for us, and we're recognizing that in someone else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. To me, that makes perfect sense. And it made me think of something. I think Dr. Spirit said it, where she said a person is either going to be a wound mate or a healing mate. I think that's how she said it. But the wound part is what really stuck with me. So basically, you're going to either get better and heal with this person, or they're going to continue to wound you. And I never thought about it. And that very much aligns with the I feel like I've known you my whole life. And if you're growing up in chaos, that chaos is normal, or people create it in a seemingly everything is going great. Has anybody, or have you, and I'll say I've definitely experienced it before, where I've dated, everything is going well, and then they do something that disrupts and it starts the breakdown of things.
Yeah. Well, speak more to that. What do you mean? Like, they do something?
Like they break the pattern. They don't follow through on what they said they would do. They've been consistent, or they basically do something that breaks the way the rhythm of things instead of communicating, hey, this feels like this is getting pretty serious. Can we slow this down? Or like, let's talk about it or what have you. But instead, they pull away in some way, whether they are no longer or they slow down the frequency of seeing each other. They intentionally insert a pause. And some of that I recognize is regular relationship testing. But for someone, and I know earlier in my life, I definitely operated more on the anxious side of attachment. So for someone with more of an anxious attachment, a sudden change, we're like, "Wha- what's going on? What's going on?" Right. And we're going to lean in. But that's also an indicator that you might be dealing with an avoidant or just somebody trying to figure out, okay, what am I doing? I've been speaking with this person regular, going back to intention, which you were saying earlier. What are my intentions? I didn't think I wanted to be with nobody. I thought I was just having a good time. Why am I having these thoughts? So there's so much that I understand now on the backside, but people will intentionally do this and it's to avoid hurt, is what I've been able to find out in some instances and having some real dialogue with people to find out like why that happened, or even just with clients when the self-sabotage is showing up. I was like, this is your attachment style. Like you're sabotaging it because this is different from what you know and it's scary. And so you want to recreate patterns that you know how to operate in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more layers. I mean, I'm hearing attachment style. I'm hearing to an extent. I mean, I don't think everything, we have this like term now called therapy speak where everyone online is explaining what's happening. Oh, this person's a narcissist. This person is avoidantly attached and all these things that, yes, makes sense. Except the narcissist piece because that's, layered. But sometimes people just don't want to do the thing. They don't want to put in the work.
And then there's that.
They don't like you enough to do it, or they don't want to have to break up or reject. I know, I see a lot of male clients, and this is just across the board, male and female clients, and this is LGBTQ friendly as well, in that, I don't want to break up with this person, so I'm going to wait till they're tired of it. I'm just going to be in my corner until they decide this is enough. Because they don't want to say the words. And they don't want to cause that pain, you know?
But they are causing pain by withdrawing, not being direct,
Mhm,
being half-hearted in efforts,
mhm.
not wanting to be the one who makes it final. So there's a bunch of so then there's a bunch of little breaks, hoping that you like get the clue. And it's like that has to be exhausting.
Right.
That is a person who really and truly avoids conflict on a whole other level.
Yeah. Yeah. Conflict.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've definitely seen it where, and then especially watching some of the dating shows where people act one way and then a complete other when they're talking to other people. When it's just like, if you just tell them and let them know, they'd be fine. Like, you not all that you think that you are sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, there are people who just have a connection and don't want to lose it, but also don't want
Yeah.
to, you know,
They don't want to work it either. But it's like you have to make a choice in some instances. But if you don't have to and a person continues to allow access, then that's completely different, right? So there's so many different things that obviously play into dating, and we always have a choice in how we react. And self awareness is so important, which is why I think everybody needs to go to therapy.
at least once.
I really and truly do.
At least once.
One time is really not going to get it. You need like at least,
I mean,
got to commit to at least 6 to 8 weeks
I don't mean
for like
like,
one.
I don't mean one session. I'm just saying at least one time in
Okay.
life, whether it's 10 sessions or 5 or 30, you should engage
Because,
with a therapist for sure.
yes, an engagement does not mean one time.
Yeah, preferably not, unless you're just doing an evaluation, maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
And then that makes sense. So, along those lines, what do you think is the psychological cost of constantly giving someone the benefit of the doubt?
So dating, continuing to date the red flag. and not get your needs met. Is that what you're
Run that
saying?
back, it broke up a little bit.
So you said, what is the cost of the psychological cost of continuing to date?
Of constantly giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Yep, essentially continuing to date somebody.
Yeah. A lot of things I've seen, obviously depression, anxiety, in some cases, I mean, stress is triggered. Stress can sometimes trigger other physical ailments. Um, I've known people going through divorces or separations who have developed illnesses like seizures and migraines and all kinds of stuff that they never thought they would have had, but the relationship made them sick. People not being able to work, losing money. It's a plethora of things. So there's a lot of psychological, physical, sometimes financial costs to stay
Mhm.
involved with certain people who aren't good for you.
Yeah, and it's not just like Lifetime movie, like it's real life, except people aren't always talking about it. And a lot of times you're only privy to it when you know that person or if they, decide to share on some sort of platform. Um, but you're absolutely right. Just the cost of it and stress and cortisol and what that does in our bodies and how it's connected to so many things. And an unhealthy relationship can age you. It absolutely can age you. Like I've seen people get out of certain relationships or out of marriages and they look like the clock rolled back. Skin's going, they lose weight, their hair is, growing fuller, they're doing better in career, so you start to see all these things. And I also think too, we see this because people are focused and more investing in self, which might be an indicator that they were neglecting themselves in the relationship or they were in a relationship that was unequal, you know,
Yeah,
in terms of a lot of like the emotional and mental work that goes into sustaining a relationship that could lead to one
right.
abandoning themselves or not putting themselves first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the cost is that you abandon yourself and your overall well-being, and the other person is fine 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. So if there's confusion in the early stages of dating, do you think it gets better or worse?
Um, you know, I always tell people what seems to be a little problem now is going to get bigger. So if he is not answering the phone or not, he or she, let me not project. If he or she is not answering the phone or not being consistent, um, that's going to continue. And it may be they're not paying a bill now, or they're not showing up to the events that matter or significant things in your life. So I would say definitely pay attention. But I think something you said earlier can also be helpful in terms of like speaking up. People also need to know, like, hey, this is not okay. You not contacting me for days is not going to work for me. And there's room for that person to change potentially if they want to be with
Yeah.
you. They're going to make an effort. So I think it's just about the balance of, like, speaking up and also paying attention to what someone does or doesn't do.
Yeah. And so many people, like you said, they've been conditioned to settle and like that's been made okay. But also just the fear that a person will leave. And so they're not speaking up to say what their needs are. And they're going along because they're like, well, this is better than nobody. It's not going to get better than this, right? This person, but you could have a better experience with that person if you actually showed up and expressed your needs.
I think that also goes for, like, the people who are on the other end of that. They see one sign of, an ick or the red flag, and then they're like, "Alright, I'm done. You're blocked."
Smoke, all you see is the dust. They are
Yeah,
gone.
and I think
Yeah.
those people can relax a little bit, and also express their needs and say, "Hey, this is what works for me. How can we move forward?" Then you're just gonna be blocking everybody and not doing what you
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And we want to be in the middle, right? We want to be able to see what those things are, not so quick to run, but also not so quick to just bend all of the time to everything, to just be in relationship. So, how do you? So they say, like, the body keeps score is one of those. Well, it's a book, but it's also a real thing, right? The body does keep score. So, how does the body like let us know when something is off in dating, even if everything looks good on paper?
Well, the butterflies. So some people have different theories on the butterflies. Some people say that's anxiety showing up and a warning that you should abort mission. And some people will say, like, this is how I know I like somebody because I have butterflies and I'm feeling the thing. So I'm not gonna say it's either or, but I will say, like, if there's anxiety popping up, that is something to pay attention to. Even if they're butterflies, but sometimes those butterflies disappear and it's just anxious energy left over. Um, Paying attention to your energy in general, like, does it increase? Does it decrease when you're around that person? Because some people do kind of siphon energy from us. We find we're doing the emotional labor and they're benefiting from it. So if it feels like you're tired and drained after dealing with that person, even though you're happy, quote unquote, that's something to pay attention to as well. When things change in a way that aren't, that's just not great. Like once people start pointing out, hey, you used to do this, but now you're doing this. Is everything okay? Or especially like those people that abandon friendships or you don't hear from them anymore. You want to check in on that. Like if you find you're not talking to your friends or you're changing your habits so much to acquiesce to the other person's schedule, those are things that you want to be aware of. I always find that sleep is the biggest thing too.
Say more.
If you can't sleep, I know we get excited and we're happy, but if you can't sleep because you're worried that they haven't called you back, you don't know where they are, or they're making you stay up late hours, not just to have fun or dates, but like because something's not right, that's a problem. So paying attention to sleep and eating. Of course, there's the excitement, but excitement wears off after a while and it turns into something. Being track
Yeah.
those things.
Yep. And I love how you said that it can start as excitement. And sometimes our body will respond to excitement and anxiousness in similar ways, but we have to label it based on the context that we're experiencing to know the difference. So I could see how someone could have butterflies both ways, and it's good for someone because meeting someone new, there could be some anxiety about, "Well, will this person reject me? Will this person, are they going to come, you know, are they going to pull up on me? So there's different things that people could feel, but if you're consistently feeling it, and I think too, I agree, if you're experiencing some of those other symptoms that you're talking about, like waiting up or like, well, we're a little bit older now where people are not like at the club for real, but
Sure.
people can stay out late. So they say, "Hey, I'm gonna call you on the drive home," and then they don't call you. And sometimes people, they're freaking out the next day or they're staying up, they're checking their phone. This person just went and had fun and they crashed out because they were tired. And then we can turn it into something else. Well, I was worried about you. They just got home late. Like they were tired. There are some things that are small that we make so big. And I think too, sometimes people they overplay a part too early. They're
Mhm.
too consistent too early, too available too early. So then that shapes a person's expectations and how things will go. And it's not something that's sustainable. And I don't think people mean harm. It's different when somebody's doing it to love bomb to get that access with ease. And speaking of which, talk to me a little bit about like love bombing and just in case there are listeners, because that's another term, one of those therapy speaks that's being thrown around. And we want to make sure that they have a healthy working definition of what love bombing is.
Yeah. So love bombing essentially is when someone is doing, in layman's terms, doing the most early on. So speaking to what you're saying, very consistent, showering you with gifts, calling all the time, taking you out, doing all the things that seem like too good to be true. So think about the catfishes, the romance. Well, the catfish where they actually meet. Um, like the romances, the guys who do like the Tinder swindling type of vibes where they're just laying it on thick and you're just like, wow, I've been waiting for this person my whole life. And it may last for like maybe a good month, but then things take a turn and then they start kind of pretty much asking for the return. So, hey, I've done all these things. You know, I'm a good person. Can I borrow some money? Can you move into my home or can I move into your home? Like the ask starts getting weird or they're demanding things from you that wouldn't be typical early in a relationship. So the people who are just laying it on very thick, those are the love bombers because that they don't,
For the purpose of
yeah, with the purpose of doing something at the back end.
mhm,
Now, if someone is
mhm.
being nice and consistent, doing the gifts, the dinners, the trips, but they can sustain that through time, that's different. That's where your information gathering, like, can they keep this up? Am I
Come on, data.
meeting family and friends? And that's what dating is. It's information gathering. We're gathering data. Who is this person? Are they who they say they are? Are other people corroborating that for speaking to their character? But the love bombers, you're gonna find that they're not goal is more so to isolate you so that you're in this bubble of love. So you're not seeking that data and you're just trusting what's in.
So they're creating a false reality for sure.
Yeah,
And
and
I
it's
think
easy. Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
it can be very easy.
because people are low effort and they know that and they're like, oh well, she just wants some roses. I'm gonna get you 2 dozen roses.
You could have had more, but that was all you asked for, right? Yep. Um, there was something you said that yes, data collection and dating. I think a lot of people come out of the data collection phase way too soon. They cut it off. And it's like, no, everything is data always.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of
Man.
us have not been taught how to date. I mean, I come from an African background. They don't teach girls how to date. They just say focus on your books up until grad school and then when are you getting married? And that's
Yep.
pretty much it.
And I don't think that's exclusively African, right? Like that's a lot
Minority.
of people.
Yeah. People of
Yep.
color,
Yep.
black people across the diaspora, it's very much like leave boys alone and do your thing. Obviously, boys get a different message, but either way, no one is taught, not no one, but most of us are taught like you meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, have kids. But what happens in between? Like, should I have a rush?
Whole lot.
Should I be dating multiple people at one time? Like, how do I know when I'm compatible with somebody? Like, they don't use those words.
Correct. Correct.
We're just kind of left blowing in the wind. And then now, going back to our initial conversation, we have technology. So I always think about like the older generations, like all you had was a house phone or letters. Like, can you imagine? Like,
Baby, my future husband, he gotta write letters. He must write letters.
is he mailing them to you? Or is he just
He
putting
can
it
leave them wherever. He can
okay?
send me an email too. I used to love a cute little email with in the early dating
Sure.
days in the early 2000s. Used to love an email, a long instant message conversation.
I definitely wrote some emails. Hello, how are you today? Here's what I'm doing. Because you didn't have
We were much
stories,
more expressive.
right? But yeah, like imagine if all we had was that, like what our parents and their parents had. Like that's a different level of information gathering because you all you see is what's in front of you, and you have to figure out who are your friends, who are your people, because we don't see it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So much, so much. Like my mind is just going back on the way technology has really changed dating. Like people would, even though we had access, it wasn't the same. Like you could be on, before they called it social media, but you can be on platforms for hours with people. And now people, they swipe left, swipe right. Like it's immediate. Like there's no beating around the bush, no sense of, oh, I need to get to know this person. No, they want that instant gratification. And I'm old school. I am old school in a way. Like I ran into somebody that I hadn't seen in like many, many years and we re-exchanged numbers and he called, right? And I, not that I was surprised that he called, he did not text. And we were just on the phone, cracking up. And I was just like, I used to love this. I used to love this. So when I get married again, like my husband, he has to like talk to me. He has to be like one of my best friends. You know what I mean? Because you still got to have friends outside of your man. You do. You do. And if you are suspicious about people, your friends being around your man, then you might need to rethink your friends and or your man, or it's a you thing. And likely it's a you thing.
Okay, that's another podcast topic right there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Let me find out you're gonna be a regular. So let's spend a little time talking about some green flags.
Okay.
Why don't green flags feel as exciting at first the way that red flags do?
Well, they don't trigger that like warning sign, The warnings, unfortunately, we feel them, but the comfort
True.
feel like boredom, and we're like, okay, well, it's I, he's cool. Nothing to write home about here. Like we love a good story, we love a good kiki. So when someone's just good, we're just like, it's cool. Nothing to share.
You're right.
He's nice. We use the word nice. Nice.
I've heard people do that. And I'm like, what do you mean he's cool? What do you mean she's cool? Like, do you like them? Like,
But I think you
yeah,
also
that's
have
always
to
interesting.
I think it depends on what space you're into. Like, are you in the space to like a green flag,
Say more.
Some of us like chaos. Some of us are more excited by, the bad sounds old, the bad boy image, the guy who will keep us on our toes where it's like, will he or won't we? Because of, again, that comfort of this is all I've known. So it doesn't even have to be that you grew up in chaos, but it's like since I started dating, I've dated people who are inconsistent. So this is what makes sense to me. So when someone is consistent, I've heard other people say this, like when they've had that experience, they say the consistent person feels clingy or they feel like
Hmm.
they need me or they want me too much. And that gets uncomfortable, because we know deep inside, like, this is going to be a healthy relationship, actually. Like, I don't have to stay up at night being anxious. I don't have to question who or what or where this person is because they're showing me everything someone should show you in a healthy relationship. That can feel off when you're used to something else. You eat
Yeah.
McDonald's every day. You can't appreciate the steak and caviar because you're like, what is this? Give me
Not
my
anymore.
chicken.
Bring the steak and the caviar.
Right. So, yeah, sometimes consistency is hard for people, even just on the basic, like, can you go to the gym 4 times a week, every week?
That's a good perspective with dating. Like some people, you expect people to be more committed to you than you are to yourself and your goals.
Sometimes.
And when you put it like, yeah, sometimes, and when you put it like that, I'm just thinking about the gym thing. It's just like promises that we make to ourselves and don't keep, and then we expect someone to show up with even greater consistency. So I think with self is a great start. That doesn't mean that you can't date just because you don't go to the gym 3 times a week. That's not what, what we're saying. But it's just important to just think about your expectations for people. And you just made me think there was a time I was an undergrad. There was this guy and I knew he was a really good guy and he was sweet, he was nice, and he was doing all the things. And I think then I didn't know. I was like, am I being love bombed? Why he doing so much? Right. But I didn't know that it was love bombing. But I also knew this person would be serious. And I was like, I don't know that I want to be as serious as he wants to be serious. Like, I wanted to be somebody's girlfriend, but I wasn't ready to be somebody's wife. And I was like, yeah, I think I knew in my heart of hearts, if I get with him, everything finna shut down. And I did not want, I was not mature enough yet, even though I thought I was pretty mature, but I was not ready for that. Yeah.
Right. But imagine if you
Yeah.
were, you know, you would have been
It wouldn't have been good.
well, fair. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe
It
that
would have
was
gotten
your
checked off the list, married,
intuition
but
potentially. But yeah, we should turn this podcast into like discussing all the people we've dated so they can listen to it. We can share what we learned.
girl, that's so messy. Or we gotta make them a pseudo person. People don't need to feel so called out. We can talk hypothetically. I mean, I'm
We'll
having
figure it
people
out.
send in I'm having people send in letters for if you're listening now, if you have questions and you want them some more insights on how to make it healthier, we're not gonna help you manipulate anybody to get into a relationship, but to get into a healthy situation and make some healthy decisions in terms of dating, protect your peace if that's what's needed, implement some boundaries. Maybe your boundaries are very rigid and you could stand to like ease up on them as well, right? But yeah, so I'm inviting you to write in the letters. We'll process them here on Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole
Yeah.
so that we can give you some feedback, right?
Yeah,
And maybe we'll have
definitely.
Dr. Nyasha come back. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you're gonna get your letters that you've been wanting.
Yes. Yes. So send those letters in. I think that's also just like a really good thing. So, yes, relationship, family dynamics, and friendship dynamics are welcome too, but just relationship questions in general. Um, yeah, because I've learned a lot of lessons. We could probably write some books about dating
Yeah,
based on some of the people we've dated in our past.
yeah. I
Absolutely.
keep saying I'm gonna write one. Um,
Okay, well get into it. Get into it. What do you think are some of the green flags that might be indicators or point towards more emotional safety long term?
one of the biggest ones are the people who can communicate instead of arguing or being defensive when you bring up problems. So again, that consistency thing, like, hey, I like when people call me or text me consistently. If that person's willing to work with you and communicate and talk about it without getting upset, I think that's great. People who can deal with you emoting. I've seen countless times in couples therapy, like one party will be crying and the other party is just kind of like, here they go again. Like that is a red flag. So the green flag is someone who wants to hold you and hand you a tissue or at least inquire like what is making you emotional right now. Even if you're always crying. Like they should have some inquiry. I think,
Yeah.
you know,
Sounds like they're available to co-regulate with you.
yeah. I love the Gottman's research about bids. I think we've seen so many different versions of it through like social media trends. So like telling someone, "Hey, I saw a bird the other day." And they actually inquire about the bird instead of saying like, "Okay, so what? So what kind of bird was it? Tell me what you liked about it." Like those people who are wanting to get to know you and your interests, even if you've been together for 10, 15 years, like those are the couples
Yeah.
make it when the other party is just interested in whatever you're interested in, even though it may not be their thing.
Whatever
Like
you like.
I'm not bird watching, but hey, tell me what you saw. What did you find intriguing about that? Obviously, consistency. That's gonna look different for everyone. Like there's the once a week versus every day. So whatever level of consistency matches your lifestyle or your vibe. What else? What are some you've seen?
They respond well to, like, being held accountable, which is a version of what you were saying, but they're willing to take in the feedback and listen. They don't immediately deflect where they're like, "Okay, I'll do better," and they leave it at that. And then, like, an apology, the best apology is change behavior, right? So seeing that change in behavior, I think those are green flags because nobody's going to always get it right. Like you see a person who's trying, who wants to do better. They're listening. They don't always have to wait for you to tell them. So they hear you say that you like these things or you want to, and then they follow through. They're like actually listening and applying in a good way. Where I think that's a note, like a good skill that that's a skill that love bombers have that needs to be used by the guy that has good intentions. Is to actually listen to what or the woman, because women love bomb too, um, but listen to what the other person has said and actually do it. Or just like follow through. Like simple follow through. So if you're asking me to go to dinner, send me a confirmation when the reservation is done, right? Like, because some people are like, yeah, we're supposed to hang out, but I don't know when, right? Because the person is not doing the follow through. Like, I don't have to know everything, but at least just be like, okay, 7 o'clock, I'm picking you up, or can you meet me here, depending on, because we live in a big area. So, like that follow through where you hear them, there's intention. So it connects. So their words and their behaviors early on.
And I like what you
And
said
that
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I like what you said about just the active listening piece, or the listening piece in general, because similar to the bids thing, like you want to know who your partner is. So if someone is saying like, I like roses, why would you get me sunflowers? Stuff like that. Like, oh, I like
Well,
sushi.
it's flowers.
I like sushi, but you took me to a vegan restaurant. Like, what are we doing here? So yeah, I think thoughtfulness in general, just like I listened to what you said and I think you would like this thing. That's that's a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's simple, right? But obviously a person is not gonna tell you every single thing. And then sushi and roses could get played out after a while
Yeah.
too. You know what I mean? But like you gotta mix it up. So we also are not telling you to run the same program.
Yeah.
Continue to get to know them and their likes and just like continue to evolve like someone who they can take it in and then okay, got it. Got more, keep going.
Okay, let's go through the list. I think one that a lot of us don't lean into or don't really like is seeing how our family and friends react to people. Because
That's a good one.
yes, and I think it was Esther Perel. I think we talked about like incorporating them early on in dating, because sometimes that's when you recognize, okay, there's gonna be a problem. Like if they're not getting along with your people, or your people know, especially living in the DMV area, somebody knows somebody.
Mhm.
Like if they're saying, "Hey, this person, you might want to, be concerned or just be on the lookout." I think all those are good things to add, because that's data again. Like if your friends are like, "Hey, I don't like what this person said to me, or I don't like how they acted in in the midst of all of this." Like those are things to look out for, because if you want a partner, you don't want to have to choose. Can my partner come to this event if these people are here? Or, you know, can I say
That's
your
so
name
good, Nyasha.
in a room without people rolling their
Right.
eyes or talking behind my
Absolutely. That's huge, and a lot of people, they're spending a lot of their time trying to, like, mediate between friends and the beau,
Mhm.
or the girl, the woman, the partner, the love interest. We'll just say love interest, right? And also, they need to be able to take that heat a little bit when friends are asking questions, right? Like, nobody's going to be like that rude or that awful to them, but you need to see how they respond to that a little bit. When you bring them around, this is also good for you because your friends know you and they can say, Naya is giving whomever. They're running down a name or two. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you haven't even figured it out because you're in the it's familiar, it feels good, and then you're like, or they say something funny like, "He kinda looks like so and so," and you're like, "Oh, you just ruined him for me."
Right. Yeah. But yeah, and I think there's credence to like, he answered the questions too well or he fit in too easily. Because I think there's some of that with the love bombers too, where they're too charming almost, where they're like, "Mm, he's cool, but what is he hiding or what's going on there?" So either way, I think it's just good to get other opinions.
Yeah, and just we're continuing to collect data.
Mhm.
So you pass this first, well, not that we're testing, but we kind of are, right? We're looking to see the compatibility. Will our lives mix as we go level to level to level to level? Because friends are important because they can see things that you don't see. And I think it's important to see people in a group setting as well. Are they able, especially depending on your personality type? How are they going to do? Like, I'm a social person. I have to date someone who can be equally as social or okay with me being social and not being threatened.
Yeah. 'Cause you are gonna talk to people. That's
I'm gonna talk to people and meet new people.
right. They need to be okay with that. Like, if you don't wanna talk, go sit down and wait till I'm done.
And don't be mad that you waiting, right? Like, cause this is how I am. This is part of my gift. I connect with people. That's what I do. And that's something that I dimmed in the past that I will never do again because that's certainly just not me.
Right.
And that's gonna be a you problem, not a me problem. This is how I was made, and it's not inappropriate. It'd be different if I was overly flirtatious, right?
Mhm.
And needed attention to be the center. And it's not that at all. It's not that at all. I just I connect with people. I enjoy connecting with people.
Right. Yeah, and I think on
And
the other
people
oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, and people like me too.
I
So
do. I've seen it in real life. But I think on the other end too is seeing what they're like with their friends, what their friends are like. Again, I think it's like how compatible we are lifestyle wise. And I think our friends
mhm.
show that too. Like, who are the people that you're associating with? What are they like? What are they into? Like, are they all drinkers? Are they cigar guys? Are they, gamblers? Like, those are things sometimes people find out on the back end where it's just like, well, what? You never were around these people? Like, you didn't know that this is what was happening? So I think on both ends, it's a good thing just again to gather data.
Yeah. What if they don't have friends really? What do you think about that?
Well, for me, that would be the reddest of flags because now I am your world. There are some people who are gonna like that, but you have to assess, like, again, compatibility. Because I'm not gonna say like, oh, you don't have friends, so you are a bad person. I think everyone has different circumstances. People move, people have social anxiety, people just don't connect with people anymore that they used to connect with. Again, gathering data, but I think we're both social people, so we know like if I am the only person that you are connected to, that may end up being a concern because guess who you're going to be connected to next? My circle of friends. And then we're now mutual friends, and that can be hit or miss at times.
Yeah, those who gets the friends in the breakup. Yeah. Yeah, that can become a thing.
Let's say everything goes well, but now we are just
Okay.
together all the time because you're just with me and my friends and my friends. So, can we have separate lives? Do we have alone time? Or are you going to go with my friends and I'm going to stay home? And now I'm like, "Well, I miss my friends, so can you get your own friends?" It could just go differently.
Yeah, it can. I mean, I'm sure there are people who have made that work where their circles are just fine. The men go do things, the women go do things, whatever. Okay, so what are some ways? So we're talking green flags, and emotional availability is a big thing, right? Like we hear another term that's thrown out there. Oh, but they're emotionally unavailable. So on the other side of that, what does emotional availability actually look like in behavior? Not just somebody saying, "Oh yes, I'm emotionally available. I'm healed. I did the work."
I think it coincides with the green flags we were talking about. The emotional
Hmm.
available person is gonna be accessible. They're not trying to hide. They're not trying to run. They actually want to be around you, and they want to communicate, and they want to do the things and put in the work. Um, So you're going to be able to tell because you don't have the warning signs that we talked about, the anxiety, of course, those things can still pop up. Like you said, this can be a you thing because some of us have anxiety and that's just a constant and it's not related to a partner. But emotional available people actually create emotional safety as well. So they make you feel seen and heard. And I think you're going to recognize that. Hopefully, people recognize that with the list of green flags that we gave. So, yes, saying things is one thing, but it's really going to come through in their actions.
So what about like with the instance of like the lover boy, right? Like he makes you feel all those things. Like, how do you know the difference between a lover boy and somebody that's actually emotionally available?
I mean, I think the lover boy can have some of that. It also depends on like what are
Hmm.
you looking for? When we talk about emotional availability, I think a lot of us are talking about this person wanted to be in a relationship or didn't. So can the lover boy not love everybody and be with you?
That's a big one.
Because he's emotionally available, clearly, to too many people is the problem.
Yeah.
But you want that person to be available to you and to want what you want. So if I want to get married and this person doesn't, that's not going to be emotionally available enough for me because you don't want the same level of depth that I want.
That's good, Nyasha, that you're saying I like the way that you package that. Excuse me, where it's like a person can be available. It's just that they're not available for what you want long term.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
for foundation, casual encounters, friends with benefits, that is not a space where someone needs to be emotionally available. That's very casual, low effort. You don't need to do labor because if you're doing emotional labor, then it gets murky.
Define emotional labor so that it's clear for the listeners and they leave with some education too and make sure they're using some of the terms like, properly. But we just want to make sure that they get what we're saying.
Yeah, emotional labor is you have a problem and I'm going to listen to it and we're going to problem solve it. Can you do that with a friend with benefits? Most people would be hesitant to do that. Or a casual encounter. You're not calling them and saying, "Oh my god, I had such a bad day. Can you listen to me talk?" I mean, some people could do that, maybe. But emotional labor is, "Okay, I'll listen to you talk and hey, let's get a glass of wine," or "Let me come rub your feet and bring you roses," or all the things that you like. That's emotional labor. Is that it's a transaction, but it's not one-sided, which is typically happening in casual situations. So this is more like we
Okay.
are in this together and we're gonna figure it out. We're there for each other and we're also on the road to something. But emotional labor can be done in all types of spaces,
Hmm.
but it just happens that in casual situations, it tends to happen more on one side than the other. Whereas when
Okay.
you're
Okay.
both emotionally available, you're both putting in labor together.
Awesome. So I'm hearing alignment.
Yeah.
There's alignment.
Call it
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you want to say on green flags?
Well, I don't want people to say, I'm just going to look for red and green flags and that's it. It's
There's a
obviously,
whole lot of in between.
yes, there's a lot of in between. Green flags and red flags are just good ways of making a checklist, but we also know that humans are complex. We can't make checklists and know, like, okay, this person checks the box. So I'm moving forward with this. Like, there's, like you said, all the in between. We need to know about their upbringings because if I said, "Oh, someone with trauma in their background is a red flag," that's problematic. That's not being empathetic or compassionate to the human experience. So I wouldn't
And
really.
nobody gets through the human experience without some sort of trauma, whether it's big T or little t.
Right. So I just want people to be careful when we label things green flag, red flag. Red flag is just a
Hmm.
simplified way to talk about things that show up in relationships that are good and bad. But there's so much more to that and layers and all types of stuff that everyone should be looking out for gathering data, if you will, as we said 20 times, gather data in dating.
Listen,
Yeah, to figure it out because there isn't really a one size fits all. Like I've seen so many different couples where I'm like, well, this makes sense. Couples where I'm like, how did y'all get together? But you could always make it work if you're both willing to do that. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I also think that red flags can be an opportunity if
mhm,
you turned it into one. Because some people, they see a red flag, they don't have any conversations with people and they just head for the hills. And there are some red flags that I think you should run for the hills. Like if there's a whole secret family, you find out that their name really isn't their name.
yeah, yeah,
Anything, yeah.
there are extreme red flags where you need to definitely run
Yes.
or call the police. But yeah,
Right. I think they can be an opportunity for to have a conversation because a person may not even be aware. You may be the first to bring this to their attention and you still say it. And then their reaction, then you decide what you're going to do. You've seen the red flag, you've labeled it for yourself, you've communicated it to them, gave them an opportunity to engage with you about it. And then from the data that you collect from that engagement, you decide what you want to do next. And I think a lot of times people will skip it. They'll skip it. And then they're also sometimes skipping out on opportunities to grow, to be able to have difficult conversations because you're going to need to do that to be in a healthy relationship.
yeah, I think a lot of it boils down to communication. A lot of it, and
Yeah.
I've, especially with 2 degrees in psychology, I've been there where I'm like, I don't want to say nothing, so I'm just gonna keep it moving here, and that didn't work out. So it's really about all of us being okay with speaking up about our wants and needs, and also being okay when things don't work out. So I think that's also another podcast for another day, but how to deal with the disappointment and the rejection and the possibility of being alone, because a lot of
Mm.
people don't want to be alone. There's all that too.
Yeah, that's a whole thing because I don't think you have to do anything. If you don't want to be alone, you don't have to be alone. You don't. But you have to decide what that really looks like for you. And some people, they make choices. And when we make choices, our brain, behavior, everything is going to be in alignment. Our thoughts are going to be in alignment with that and make it so. So, because, the brain is obviously, the brain is very powerful. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Or
there's some things we can
you can just get a cat
go
or a
ahead.
dog and call it a day and, have friends and community and it'll be all right. And a great therapist.
Somebody's trigger right now that you said get a cat.
Yeah. I know some people aren't cat people, but I've always wanted a cat. Do I have one yet? No. But one day
Mm.
I have my little kitten.
Cats are a lot lower maintenance than dogs, that's for sure. And these days, you can get electrical, the mechanical kitty litter box where you just got to dump and then just add more. But that's so funny. So speaking of, are there some behaviors? Well, we're talking about like being human and not being perfect in relationships and dating. Are there behaviors that people are a little too quick to label as red flags that actually might be healthy or aren't unhealthy?
I think people are confusing red flags with icks. The ick is like, oh, he wore loafers to this date when he should have worn sneakers. That's a red flag. And it's just like, well, clothes can be changed. Clothing and shoes can
Hmm.
change if they're open to the feedback.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is like we'll label red flags something that's incompatible with our lifestyle or our sense of being as humans in this world. So, oh, you eat this or you wear this or you pay this much for this or you don't pay this much for this. I think all those things are starting to be put under the red flag umbrella where it's just like, hey, this person doesn't have the means. Does that make them a red flag? No. Are they not compatible with you because you make $50,000 more? Yeah, that might be it. Like, it's just I think what you were saying, like, what are you willing to deal with? What are you looking for in a partner?
Yeah, that's good. Knowing the difference between an ick, incompatibility, and actual red flags. That's good. That is really good because a lot of times people will, like you said, say it's all the same. And it's not. It's not a red flag that he took you for coffee. He's on a budget. He's being intentional about who he's dating. And he's not trying to pay a whole bunch for dinner because he still got to pay rent, right? That doesn't mean he can't date, but like
You know,
it's hard. I think it's hard that people for people that are engaged in traditional dating where men are paying.
grown to appreciate the coffee date, and I feel like more people should be open to that because it's still like an opportunity to get data. Granted, you're
Hmm.
drinking coffee. I mean, of course. What time are you drinking the coffee? Because I've had people talk about getting coffee after work. I'm like, I'm not drinking coffee at 7 o'clock at night. I'm sorry.
Not if I'm going to sleep
Right.
tonight. Yeah.
So yeah, but I do think coffee is good because you do save money and time. And who's to say like coffee can turn into brunch or later dinner or whatever. But it's nice to just answer some questions, get to know the person, and see if you want to invest because it is an investment of time and energy, money, etc. But again, I think social media and other discourse has led people to believe like you have to go on these lavish dates. You have to spend the 200, $300. I think coffee is just fine. If you don't like coffee, you can order some tea or order some water. I don't know. Go there with
Yeah.
the
And I
intent
also,
to gather information.
yes, agreed. And I think coffee people are probably going to be, their guard will be down more, right? Because it's more casual. Not to say, "Oh, gotcha, we finna ask all the questions. Like, not saying it in that way, but like people, you might see more of the real them versus dinner. You got to dress and like put on and all the stuff, right? Where there's room to be a little more casual, or we're just meeting for coffee. Like your wardrobe for coffee is going to be different for dinner, depending on who it is and maybe what you have planned for the rest of the day.
And
So I don't think it's a bad thing per se. And that's also showing you it's not that he doesn't think you're worth it. He don't know you. They don't know you yet. And if your worth is so easily diminished because it's a coffee date and not a dinner date, are you clear on your worth?
also you could stay sober, which is great. And there are some really good cafes out there. I saw they have coffee omakase now, and I'm really excited about that.
They
But
do
I want to go. Yeah, you get a flight of coffee. Sometimes they pair them.
go just for the experience.
Yeah, so it could be
When
some
we going, girl?
whenever you want. Let's go over the week.
We'll plan this when we're done recording then.
Right. But sometimes you just gotta give it a chance and see what's
Yeah.
happening and just lean into getting to know someone versus getting to know their wallet or what experience they can give you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That was good. Thank you for those. Thank you for those. And you've talked about this a little bit more, but I do want to ask it more directly. And if there's more you want to add to it about how does culture, upbringing, and identity shape what someone considers acceptable in dating?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Culture, it's a lot of things. So, we think about the upbringing, we think about where your parents are from, where you're from, religion, expectations, the vibes. Because, what's happening, I'm from Zimbabwe. So a 40-year-old in Zimbabwe looks very different from a 40-year-old in the States. And
Okay.
that's to generalize, the culture back home is definitely, you should have been settled down by
Right.
20 something. By 40, you should have your one, two, three kids, houses, businesses, just it's a definitely, there's different expectations of maturity. Whereas a 4-year-old here, it's a toss up. You may or may not be married. You may or may not have kids. You may still be going to happy hour of the club. You may never touch a business or you're just working a part time or there's more flexibility in terms of what life looks like. And I
Yeah.
think to an extent that's kind of Western um, mentality, the individualistic, whereas the collectivistic cultures, you're beholden to what society there says you should be doing. And then you're also
Yeah.
beholden to what your family is expecting or needing or wanting from you. Whereas here, the Western worlds, you're not. You can do whatever you want to an extent. So
Yeah.
you could elope, you could have a ceremony, you could decide I'm never getting married, you could decide, all kinds of things. But I think that's where when we think about dating, you know,
Mhm.
the information gathering, like what are your thoughts on marriage or kids and no kids or the woman working or not working or, all kinds of things. There's just so many different layers of are we compatible in this space in the DMV and are we compatible when we go back to, Guyana if you're from Guyana or if we go back to Nepal if you're from Nepal, like what does it look like to join our worlds, so to speak, based on whatever culture and background we're coming from.
Love that. Love that. You have to figure it out for yourself, right? Because there might be sometimes elements of culture, upbringing, and identity can be hurtful for some people, where a lot of people they have to sacrifice their individualistic desires for a culture. Like and that could do a lot to a person, right? Like they've done all the things they did everything right and then they're still miserable. They did everything they were expected to do and still miserable. So I can hear both sides where, in other cultures that are, non-Western cultures, I can see where that's good, right? Like there's structure. It ensures certain things about society and things continue to go on. And then here, having that freedom, because there's some people who never carry out their purpose because they're doing what society has said they need to do. And there's something really big inside of them that could change the world, right? Like everything we see in this world came out of someone's mind. So I think that's something to also keep in mind too with that, right? That sometimes you're not supposed to do the traditional thing because there's other things, something else for you. So when do you think it's appropriate to ask questions instead of just walking away?
All the time. I mean, wait, what kind of questions? Which ones are we talking about?
I mean, you can interpret this how you like. When is it appropriate to ask questions instead of walking away?
I think when it's not harming you or your safety, I think that's where you can lead with the questions. Because if someone like is being abusive or manipulative, then you don't want to stick around to find out more. But if it is the, texting, calling, inconsistency, I think it's perfectly okay to start asking questions, "Hey, I thought I was gonna hear from you and something happened. What's going on?" Or, "We had these plans and they fell through." Yeah. Or, "You said something that hurt my feelings. Let's talk about it." So, I think there's room for questions at every point as long, again, as it's not harming your well-being.
Yeah. And I think questions are that curiosity is a healthy way to create some accountability. It's not an interrogation. It's asking for more information and a person having to express and communicate and show you. And then if they can't communicate, if they get all worked up about you asking questions, again, this is data. This is probably not a person you can build with that's going to be emotionally safe. So people avoiding things early on, that's also an indicator that you're not safe emotionally. If you feel like you can't ask the hard question, it's different from, I think we've all had a friend who's maybe hard on somebody in dating, and you're like, I think you might be doing a little much. Like, I think you can give them a pass here, right? So that looks different, but a lot of us don't bring, like you were saying earlier, the importance of bringing them around your friends early so other people can vibe check. Also, how are they going to do with accountability? Your friends are like, girl, you don't touch doors. Why are you opening doors at all? Like, I've seen you touch more doors today with them than I've ever seen you touch in your life. And that's a small thing that a person doesn't even think is big. And it can start with those small things.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, I'm used to my doors being opened for me. You really do teach people how to treat you, and it's not necessarily class is in session. It's the little things, it's asking the questions, it's communicating your preferences.
Yeah. And it could be very mild. Like, I know for us as therapists, like I always tell people, like, I'm probably not going to answer your call between these hours because I'm most likely.
Mhm.
So that's me teaching you, like, do not call me during these hours because you will be disappointed. Now, if you keep calling me, then that's a problem. Then
Mhm.
we have to talk about it. But if you respect that
Yeah.
boundary and it works for you, then yeah, that's great. Green flag. Now we can move forward.
Okay. So this next segment I think is a little bit juicy. Where have you ever seen it or have you ever done it where you're basically dating the same type of person over and over again? It's just a different body. You know what I mean? You got that type.
You know what? They've all been different in their own ways.
I mean, no one's exactly alike.
I
But
understand your
yeah, when
question.
you like look at similarities and energy, what they do,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. So, why do you think so many people repeat those dating patterns, even after therapy and self work? So, we could talk about in general and then how it still happens after them doing some therapy and some work on self.
Well, again, I think it feels fun. I think it feels exciting. It feels good. Initially, there is that familiarity. There's that, and of course, it's coming in a different package mostly. But I don't know about you. I've dated people who could be in a lineup and no one could be like, "Oh, this person is similar to this person." It's just a United Colors of Benetton hodgepodge of like people related to each other. But yeah, could we pick out a few traits here and there that are similar? Potentially, yes. But I do think like that's the exciting part. Like, great, a new different person, an opportunity for a great relationship to come out of this, or great something, great dating experience. I'm not thinking about the last person or what what my general trajectory is in this space. I'm going off of this new shiny object. They have different stories, different backgrounds. They're fun to get to know. I like their job. They got money or they look good, whatever. So those things can be blinding to the fact that, oh, I'm getting the same feelings or the same butterflies or cues in my body that something may be amiss. Or I'm hearing, homegirl or sister say, are you sure about this one? And I'm ignoring it. So I think that's why we can have that trend of like same person. Because imagine if they came in the same package every time. We just be like, oh, not again. We'd be like, nope. Or, even that person who's been toxic who comes back, we're already on guard. Like, I already know what I'm getting with this. So it's different because it looks different. So we go for it.
Yeah. I had to, there was a part of me that had to realize that it's not that I liked love bombing as much as I liked the intensity in the beginning because it's good, it's exciting, right? But it fizzles out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times you already know, but you're hoping for something else different. You're writing a different ending and not looking at what's in front of you, like you said. Everything looks kind of different on the surface, but the feelings, the way that things develop, they could be familiar. And you know what it is.
Yeah. Hope is strong.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that's
And a lot of
also
people they're not operating in reality because a person People are out here selling dreams. Some people are out here selling dreams, and this is why you have to check for consistency, for congruence between what they say and what they do, and not just based on how you feel.
Yeah. But I think that speaks to your other question about, like, when you've done the self-work and the therapy, like, we still can doubt ourselves and be like, "You know what? Am I being too harsh?" Like, even if the toxic person comes,
Mm.
we'll be like, "Well, maybe he changed, or maybe they changed, you know? Maybe this time is different." Like, a few years have passed by, or my therapist doesn't know what they're talking about, like, I've definitely had sessions with clients where I'm damn near saying, "This person is a no, abort, run away."
Listen,
And they don't.
and sometimes you gotta let them find out.
And they will
Like,
double
y'all have said it.
down. They will double down and say, "No, this is the person." And I'm like, "Okay, what do I know?" Right? But again, that
It's not about you, though,
yeah, it's speaking to the whole thing.
and they want what they want. And so even if sometimes it's not even just hope, it's just that this is playing out the way that I saw it in my mind. This is what I want without recognizing. Like you'll get it, but it's not going to be sustainable.
Yeah,
And you have to let people figure that out. And some people they're not done with toxicity all the way.
yeah. And that's about many things, upbringing, whatever is happening in the
Yeah.
background. There's a lot of women I've noticed who, want to fix things and want things to work so bad that they're just gonna stick it through. So I get it. And I think that's why a lot of us repeat patterns, because we're like, this time it's gonna work. Like, I can't, don't send me back out to the dating pool. I'm gonna make it work.
And see, that could trigger some serious desperation though, and
Mm.
it's still ending. Like you might get into a serious relationship, might even find yourself in a whole marriage, but like,
Mhm.
will it be sustainable because you're operating out of fear?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like talking about sustainability because a lot of times people can't keep things up, you know? So, and anxiety, as we've been talking about, and stress, those are things that we don't want to sustain over time, because
No,
that's when we
our bodies are not built to stay in that consistent state. Yeah. So, what do you think? What does it really take to choose differently and not just like know better, like know better and do better? What do you think that takes in terms of dating from a psychological perspective?
from psychology. Well, I'm in of the belief that people should take a break. Um, I don't believe that you should go from relationship to relationship to relationship. I think people should know what it feels like to be alone and to be with yourself, because the more comfortable you are, the less that you're going to deal with those shenanigans of, like, I'm trying to hold on because I don't want to be single, because you should be comfortable. I'm using the word should. You should be comfortable being alone by yourself in a room solo, because that's going to dictate what you allow and what you don't allow. So that would be my first step, is take some time out to be alone if you have never been alone and you just keep jumping from
Yeah,
relationship to relationship. Because there are people who've been alone, but I think there are people who've been alone and depressed in being alone. So there's also like, can you find
the value
peace
in it.
and value and comfort in not having anyone to text or go out with, or, do other things with, and just be by yourself and enjoy your own company and enjoy knowing what you like and what you don't like, and doing that self work like we were talking about. But I think it's also addressing, what your upbringing taught you and what your parental wounds are, if there are any, what some of the things that keep repeating themselves in your dating space have been. And, there are also people who haven't dated. And I think it's worth exploring what that has looked like, or what, some of the anxiety and fear looks like there, and helping them figure out. One thing I ask my clients who want to date, I'm like, what are you looking for? Let's make the list. What is an ideal partner for you? Like, how would you know someone is compatible to your lifestyle or to you? So just baseline what do you want? And going from there. And sometimes it is teaching, like the information gathering piece that we've been talking about. Like a lot of us, again, we weren't taught that. We just taught like somebody and then that's it. Are you happy is not a question. Get married and have kids.
Yikes. Ooh, that could be a whole other pot in itself. Like, does happiness matter?
Right. Especially in relationships, 'cause that comes up a lot.
And it does. Like, I get it that people do what they have to do, but we're also like, I think society is different where we are not in survival mode the way that we had to, and how things depended upon the family and things getting better and furthering. Like, I really just like, families look different. The traditional family isn't what everyone is living anymore or what people are aiming for. And more people are breaking out of that and creating their own version. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with that traditional approach, as much as I think people, as things have evolved and technology evolves, people see other ways and they're making it work for them, their way. So, and I think a good way to kind of sum up like what you're saying, like healing, it doesn't mean that you stop attracting red flags. It means like you like stop entertaining it or you're not interested anymore. So I think that's a good marker to know post therapy, like, okay, I'm still attracted to them. I mean, because you're still an appealing person, but what you do, you like you'll get the ick from the red flags as you continue to grow.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And just being able to look back and say, I would not allow that to happen again. You know, you're in a different space.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And when you really take that time to do work, you really do evolve. Like some people can really and truly transform. And I know we've all had a ex. We're like, what was I thinking? Why didn't anybody say anything? But they're usually like, well, I thought you were happy. You seem so happy.
Right. Or it's the one you didn't tell people about. 'Cause there's that too.
Say more of what you mean with that.
Some people hide stuff from their friends or will hide what happened for real, what they said, what they did, what they didn't do. There's some
Yeah.
go-to people that we may not talk about extensively, you know? Or if you bring them up, your friends will be like, "Which one was that?" And you're like, "I'll tell you that story." Never mind. And
Look, you done told on yourself.
right.
Like, dang, girl, you wasn't supposed to talk about him.
Yeah. But sometimes we don't
They
tell
don't
the full
know.
story. So, yeah. So they couldn't say anything, basically, my point.
I've seen people do that, or they've intentionally avoided some of those things that would be like, for lack of a better way to put it, to vet somebody, right?
Yeah.
But they skipped the steps. They did what they wanted to do. So then it's like, okay, well, just let it play out. You don't say I told you so, but
We should not say that.
yeah, it doesn't stop it though. So shifting gears a little bit, how do you think faith has sometimes been misused to get people to tolerate emotional harm or the impact that faith has on people enduring more emotional harm?
When you say faith, do you mean religious faith?
I'm saying faith to do it general, like whether a person is spiritual, beliefs higher than self, but like I guess some of that would be more religious in nature.
Yeah, I mean, I think people will use the word faith to sometimes make the case for suffering or for harm to be done in a way. And, being respectful of whatever religious beliefs or beliefs in general that people have, I think there are some that may suggest like you need to be with someone regardless of what's happening. When we talk about the happiness piece, like it's not about happiness, it's about duty and honoring partnerships and whatnot. And you can never divorce or you can never, whatever that may lend to you being a healthier person. So I've seen it in clients talking about their upbringings in faith-based households or just what their expectations from their parents or churches or mosques or whoever is when it comes to relationships. And sometimes it can be positive where people have a community and they can check in with people and it's helpful. But sometimes it can go the other route where they have community and community is way too involved in all the goings on of the relationship or they're forcing people to stick it out when it's just not worth sticking out anymore. So I've seen a lot of different things happening that usually don't lend to healthy relationships.
Yeah. 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 And it can be misused for sure. For sure. Thank you for that perspective.
Sure.
So, in your opinion, what's the difference between giving grace and overextending?
Mm, okay. It's a good question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you feel when you're overextended. Giving grace, I think, is not an everyday thing. Because if you keep giving grace, I think that leads into overextending yourself. But I think it's also like, what is your capacity? And it also depends. If we're talking about like the phone thing, like, okay, you can't call me consistently. All right, fine, giving grace. Let me know when you can. Overextending is now I'm calling you all the time, because you can't call me. And it's just like, all right,
And they can call you, they're not
right.
calling
You've
you.
jumped over
Yeah.
to from grace to overextension.
And that emotional labor begins. Yeah.
So I think grace is
Okay,
when like
that's
we're
good.
talking about like, hey, I brought up this thing and then their behavior at least shows effort of like, I'm gonna be accountable and deal with it. But then if I'm just like, okay, you can't do it, now I'll pick it up, then that's just overextending.
Good, good. And say more about what you were saying, like you can feel overextending in your body.
Just like when you feel like you're making excuses or you feel like I'm bending too much or I'm doing more than I signed up to do. I think we can feel it. We try to ignore it. I can't pinpoint like an area in your body where you can feel it, but I think there's like a level of disappointment of, okay, now I have to do this thing that they're not doing. Or now I have to, keep this up or hold this up so that we can continue relating or dating or whatever we're doing. And this other person isn't going to
Yeah.
pick that up either.
And I think a key marker is like you feel tension or resistance. And that can be experienced in so many different ways where like you can feel it in different parts of your body. Different areas are tightening up. Like it might be your jaw. We've talked about feeling things in your stomach. You might feel it in your back, all sorts of things. Like our bodies do different things and you don't know, especially after you're consistently exposed to like when you were talking earlier about energy being like siphoned off, right? So if you're consistently around someone that's siphoning energy and you're not yet aware of it, right? It might take a long time to notice it. And that overextending is now you do everything and they really just kick back. And so if you feel resentment, if you're looking at your mate, your partner, and they look content and you're mad that you're doing stuff, you're overextending. And it's time for a conversation for sure and figuring out how you got.
Exactly. Communication.
So, yes, very much. And a lot of negotiating that I don't think happens. I think some people their goal is to just get purchased per se, like if this get you off the auction block, the highest bidder
Right.
and then the rest of it is later, it's done. I don't have to do anything else. I got you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can people date with compassion without losing themselves? And whether it's intentional or because really, I think a lot of it is unintentional or unconscious self erasure or like shrinking. Yeah. How can people do that?
I think This is where I'm gonna include the community aspect. I think
Okay.
checking in with friends and therapists or family as well, just in terms of like what's going on. Because I think, to my earlier point, sometimes people keep stuff to themselves. But I think it's helpful to like seek counsel sometimes. Like everyone shouldn't be asked, of course. I mean, I think we know who to go to sometimes and who not to go to. But trying to find, like, the neutral party or someone who's gonna be more objective and like, "Hey, this is happening. What are your thoughts on this?" Like, I've definitely had friends check in like, "Oh, I like this person, but there's this thing that's an ick. Like, how would you handle it or how should I handle it?" Being able to talk through that, I think. But I think that also comes from, like, when I was talking about, like, spending time with yourself, um, because I think we can extend how we feel about ourselves to other people. So if you can be compassionate to yourself, I think you can be compassionate with others versus
Yes.
if you're always compassionate with others and not with yourself, then that's a whole different ballgame. But I think sometimes when we can extend that grace and love and compassion to others, that can be helpful in guiding how we relate.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. The self work is so important. And if you're not in a space where you are handling yourself with care and compassion, it's kind of hard to really and truly do that with someone else. Like you can, but your lack of self compassion is still going to come in and possibly it can have a negative impact on the relationship for sure.
Like you said, lose yourself. Like you don't want to lose yourself in someone. You want to be grounded and be able to really assess what's going on and
Yeah.
what you can offer.
Okay. And so, why do you think pacing is so important in dating?
Well, you don't want to be love bombed. I mean, unless you do, of course. But
Then know what you're signing up for.
right. But yeah, it's about that sustainability. Like if we're on, we see each other every day for the first month and then that dwindles down, it's gonna feel like, "Oh, this is going very bad," but it's just kind of settling into like, "Okay, this is we're being normal now." Like, I can't
And every
be
day
with
is
you.
not
It's not
sustainable.
sustainable, which is why it's helpful to pace it out because you do wanna information gather. You don't wanna put all your eggs in one basket, as they say, and have all your energy on this one person, which I think is how a lot of us go wrong because we meet someone, we're like, "Well, they're the one. This is who I'm supposed to be with."
And they're continuing to date. And meanwhile, you cut off people and there's not even been a talk about exclusivity.
Yeah, I mean, more than that, it's just that this is the option in front of you, so you feel like, "Okay, I have to put my all and do all the things and put all the
Yeah.
energy," and that, again, feels sustainable, but in the long run, it's not because you don't even know the person. And then if you don't really like them that much, now you gotta explain why you're not answering the phone or
So,
why you don't wanna go out.
why do you think, or what contributes to someone taking like this is the one they decide, oh, I'm going all in. I got to do everything. Like, what do you think contributes to that?
Well, I think there's a regional thing. I think if you live in a big city or like, us in the DMV, like there are 10 women to 1 man. So when we meet a guy that we like, we're like, "Wow, I finally hit the lottery. It's my turn." So that contributes to it. Or any big city
That's
where
the magical thinking. I just hit the lottery. Like, but that is how some people really feel.
yeah, I mean,
I've
I think
won the prize.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of lack that can come through, especially when you're not always presented with options. Like, not everyone is out here dating and thriving in the dating world. A lot of people don't date or have not dated for a long time. So when someone comes along, I think that's where things can get dicey because they're like, "Oh, here's someone. Now I can finally do the thing I've been wanting to do." So they get excited and they want to do it every day.
And it's not appropriate because I've definitely have heard it through friends as well as past clients where they hadn't dated or had been celibate for an extended period of time or just abstained for a certain period of time. And then they meet someone and then all this energy is flowing. And they felt, well, it's been too long since I've engaged with somebody like this. And so they picked this random person. And then all this additional responsibility goes on to them. And it's like, but that's not how y'all started. You created this. You gave this person more access than what was appropriate for where you were in the relationship. And so sometimes that can happen and just realizing that your own sometimes is loneliness, right? Like your lack because we're built for connection and community. And so it's easy to then feel good and going back to those feel good hormones, the dopamine and the oxytocin and the endorphins, all this good stuff that starts flowing and now you're trying to put more responsibility on them, and it's like it doesn't match what had been happening, and so I think loneliness is one of those things that can get people caught up and make them throw caution to the wind or pacing to the wind.
Yeah. I think there's loneliness, but then there's also like the people who have been dating or the people that jump from relationship is just not knowing how to be alone or,
Mhm.
this is all I know is being in a relationship with people. So yeah, of course, we're hanging out every day or we're, codependent now because that's, you know, another layer of something else.
That codependence is real.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of the big city loneliness. I don't want to keep doing this because the dating scene or the pool has pee in it. Um, yeah, I think hope in a way starts to dwindle, especially the older that we get. People start making concessions and to your point earlier, settling because I think this is it. This is just I'm gonna stop here, you know?
Yeah, and there's a difference between settling and adjusting to what reality says, right? So I think when you get to a certain age, like the age we are now, a man with no kids is really like a unicorn. Or even a woman with no kids is like a unicorn. But if you have a strict no kids dating, know that your pool is going to be a lot smaller. So there's just certain realities that I think people have to take into account. And no one's saying you can't have it, but just know that that might be a little bit harder. Or do you need to rethink that? What if they have adult children? They're not young children. Like, because this is also a vision that you created in your teens or 20s,
Yeah.
thinking that you all will have your first children together. And so you're not on your normal, your plan, your thought out timeline. It's reasonable to make adjustments.
Yeah. And that's why
So it's not always settling. Yeah.
I like to ask my clients who are venturing into dating, so what are you looking for? What do you want? What do you not want? Because I can at least give them some grounding and reality and saying,
Yeah.
okay, not everyone's going to
Yeah.
be 6'2". So that's gonna be, you know,
And when you 5 foot even, you do not need a six foot
first of
two
all,
man.
I don't believe in that. I think that's oppositional language that you're using as a shorter person. I can be with
Girl,
whoever I want to be with.
I didn't say you can't. I said you don't need. It's
I
just always
I need
interesting to me
I need that.
when you
Please.
said that sounds like oppositional language.
I I need someone 7 foot. Now what are you gonna say?
Girl, good luck,
Okay,
because it's
thank
not that
you.
many of those in the
Well,
world. But
they
if
might
that's what you
just
want, baby,
for
go
me.
find him.
No, I'm just kidding.
Go put
But
yourself in that position.
but
Yes.
again, I can need that, and it's okay. But yes, they're going to be my pool will be smaller, and that's fine. But it is kind of
And that's a reality
figuring out
that one
reality.
has to,
Yeah.
yeah, that you have to understand. Like, this is what the pool is based on your filters, essentially.
But again, I think that's why when I meet or someone meets someone that maybe fits the bill, it's like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna put my energy into this one because They're meeting checking early boxes, of course, not the ones that count, but if he's 7
Right.
foot and has money and looks decent, I might be excited. So that's where people often get, stumble over because it's like, you don't know them yet. So let's do some digging and maybe we should date other people in the meantime and leave the door
Yeah.
open. So, yeah.
Yep. And so what you just said, like that, those 3 characteristics, sometimes people stop data collection after that. They
Mhm.
just decide, "I want them, and I'm gonna make it happen,"
Yeah.
and they just go with it. They just go with it. So that's just something very, very different.
Yeah.
So how can someone slow down without feeling like they're sabotaging something good? Like, how can you what are some ways that people know that, like, their slow down, their approach is healthy without feeling like yeah.
Maintain your life, you know, have a life. I'm not gonna say act like they're not there, but do the things that you would typically do outside of that person because I think once you start creating too much space for them, that's when we start jumping in. Part of that is also emotional regulation,
Okay.
checking in on how you're feeling, not always looking for that dopamine hit from another person because I think it gets complicated too because texting and calls, those act as dopamine hits. So now we're addicted to the person contacting us, even though, whoever the person is, we like that notification. And then we're also addicted to engaging with them and being around them other
Yeah.
times. So you want to, it's like a drug, like obviously not a hard drug, but we want to do things in moderation versus going all out. So you might wanna eat your favorite food, but you're not gonna eat every day because then that's not gonna be your favorite food anymore. So it's like, "All right, this will be a nice treat for this evening, and then tomorrow I'm gonna go back to meal prepping or whatever." And you just want to make sure you're sustaining balance without jumping in the deep end of, "I'm so in love with this person, and I don't care what's going on with them or the information gathering." So I think you just
Yeah.
be normal, be cool. In layman's
Some
terms,
people don't have cool, they
and
don't
chill
have
out.
chill, they don't have normal,
That's the
right?
emotional
Where
regulation. You gotta chill.
when they start feeling stuff, and especially if they haven't felt it in a long time,
Mm,
their engine is like, "Rum, rum, let's go." You know what I
yeah.
mean? They have no chill and they're not reading, they're not paying attention. It's solely based on how they feel. So I think if your feelings are that super like intense and big in the beginning, like I think that's an indicator one, okay, something is going on here. We like it, right?
Mm,
Something has awakened
right.
and pace it out. Like what is healthy? Am I reading what I'm seeing in front of me? Like I was watching The Rookie and there was he's like a character that like he's a reoccurring character, but like anyway, he fell in love with someone that was involved with one of the not fell in love, but like basically the lady was a exotic dancer. And he was like, "Oh, she's so beautiful." And he has a lot of money. He's very tall, like what you described. And he was kind of all right looking. That did not get him the lady because he came, he had gifts for her and all his friends. He's like, "I got all the millions. I'll spend them." And she's like, "As much as I want this, you got to take the gifts back and all the things." Like he did too much. He didn't know what to do. He was so overwhelmed. "I'll give you whatever. I just want you in my life." Right? Is what he was feeling in that moment without actually having her in her life, having her in his life. So, and I don't think he was love bombing as much as he's just like,
You
"Here,
said it.
you can have everything." And some people are generous in that way.
Mhm.
And they have to make sure they're not being taken advantage of as well. And so,
Yeah.
he got some feedback and he kind of like pulled it back.
Yeah, it's
But
about
it was
yeah.
it's
It's pulling it back. It is, taking that excitement and putting that energy in different spaces other than just in that person because that is the emotional regulation piece. Like, yes, thing is exciting, but I also have responsibilities to myself and the things around me and, tonight we're gonna have a date, so that's gonna be our time together, and it's gonna be fun and best foot forward and everything. But tomorrow I have a presentation to do, and then I'm gonna work out, and then I'm gonna hang out with my friends. Like it's definitely like making sure that you are not acting like that person and saying, "Here's the world, like, it's yours." Because again, we're still
Yeah.
information gathering and our body's reacting, which is normal, it's biological, everything that our bodies are doing is in helping us survive and helping us reproduce. Which
Yeah.
is the problem
Yeah.
in the love space because our body's like, "Great, there's a mate, now y'all gotta make babies." But we have to be the ones to be like, "Well, let's stop and figure out."
It's a lot different now than back before,
Right. We're not just in a cave.
where you could it's a whole lot going on in this world and people are into a lot of things. So you have to be careful about what you're welcoming and inviting into your life, okay?
Exactly. So,
Okay. So for anyone who has missed the red flags, how can we help them to release that shame and to trust themselves again when making dating decisions?
take a break, go to therapy, hang out with your friends. You don't have friends, make friends, seek community. But I think it's helpful to, read books, uh, do research. As intellectual as that sounds, I think it is good because, like we are talking about, we don't get taught these things. No one taught us love bombing or manipulation, coercion, all these things. Is this? I think it's helpful to figure that out in the in between time. What is your attachment style? What are your red flags, for goodness sake? Because we're not all perfect. But yeah, just taking time to yourself to assess what happened and what didn't happen and what should have happened and go from there.
Okay. So, Nyasha, do you have time to join me in breaking down a letter that was sent in?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
So, it's not very long at all.
Okay.
So, this is sent in by, oh, this is a little saucier than I thought. Hold on.
Then I'm definitely
Mm.
sticking around for this one.
Wait, 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 wait. I think this one might be better for someone else.
Okay.
Another guest for this month
Okay.
to break down. Hold on, let me look at this one. Let me see, because I thought I had that. I was like, "Ooh, I missed the key detail there."
Just put my little lip gloss on while you get the letter.
Huh? Oh, get your lip gloss. Okay, yeah, I know that's right. Get ready, girl. Get ready. Okay. Okay. So this is from Jay. Jay is 41 and says, "Dear Dr. J. Nicole, I've been told that I pull away when relationships start getting serious. I don't mean to hurt anyone, but when expectations increase, I feel overwhelmed and trapped. I want companionship, but I also value my independence. How do I know that I'm not just meeting? How do I know if I'm not? Hold on. How do I know if I'm just not meeting the right person or if this is something I need to work on?"
Hmm. Okay, Jay. Do you want to answer? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so what I love here is that there is curiosity that's happening, Jay, that something has been brought to your attention and you're not immediately pushing it back. It's been brought to your attention, you're acknowledging it, and you're saying you feel overwhelmed and trapped. I think it may be important to explore why you feel overwhelmed and trapped and what messaging you maybe got around commitment that informs that feeling overwhelmed and trapped feeling that you have. And I would encourage you to look at the data. I'm going to keep saying that, right? Look at the data. Does this person actually do things that make you feel trapped or overwhelmed? Or this sounds like it might be a me thing, as in a you thing, and not a we thing with you and the other person that you're dating. So I think this is something that is worth exploring. It could also be that they're not the right people. I'd have more questions. I'd want to know about the last few times because it could look different with different people, what led to it. Because it could just be that, yeah, this is not giving what I wanted to give. So we want to be careful about overgeneralizing because really and truly, it's not the one until it is, right? So you do every single one of those instances is something for you to learn. So I would encourage you to go back and look at the history of that, the choices you made, their behaviors, and getting to the root. Because I would think that this is not really about the people you're dating as much as there's a belief. And you may unconsciously be dating people that are going to overwhelm you and make you feel trapped because you have a belief about serious relationships, overwhelm, and being trapped. What you got, Dr. Nye?
Yeah, I guess to piggyback, I feel like I wonder if that's the way to not be in relationships because you're dating people who overwhelm you. So that's the, kind of golden excuse of like, well, she was asking for too much, so on to the next. Well, she was asking for too much, so on to the next. And that's where, like you said, I have more questions. Like, what does that
Hmm.
mean? Like, what are these responsibilities that are bogging you down? Like, what is too deep for you?
Yeah. And have they asked for it?
Right. Or how are they
Because
asking for
sometimes,
it?
if at all, right? So I think there's both. Have they asked?
Right.
Is this what you believe that you should be doing? And is it appropriate for where you are? Like, I think this is a great time for like a conversation on negotiating. So then, like, what does this mean? Like you were saying earlier, and I think most people said communication, right? Like, what do you need? There's a room for negotiating. It doesn't automatically mean you're serious. Now you got to do all these things. It could be a reflection of his values. Like if he's a traditional Southern man and being a boyfriend means that I do all of these things, that's his programming, right?
Well, he also said
And I don't wanna do that.
he said he values his independence. So maybe you shouldn't be in relationships or relationships that are not long term are for you or they're more casual. But I would want to explore the root, as you said, like what did you see growing up? What do you feel is expected of you or expected when you are in a relationship? Or again, what are these women asking for or not asking for? Like because it could be a you thing or it could be
Yeah,
a we thing in that there just wasn't enough communication. Because I think one thing that especially if you've ever been to therapy and you've had a good therapist, we know that
yeah,
words mean things. So when I say, "Oh, I'm happy," that could mean one thing to me and another thing to you. So what does it mean if someone says, "Can you do this?" Maybe you interpreted that as she wants me to give her the world when she just asked you to like pick up some groceries. So what does it mean when
yeah.
people say different things? Yeah, we have more questions, Jay. So if you would like to book a session with one of us,
Right.
that would be lovely.
We're happy to do that for sure. Yeah, there's so much that's in there, and I don't think they have to be alone. They have to find a person who will give them that independence. So someone who's more securely attached or maybe even a little more on the avoidance side where they're also going to value their independence.
Yeah. I mean, I do think there's credence to that. Like I've had a lot of clients where I'm like, you attract people who are very anxious, or you attract needy people, or you attract, fixer uppers, like, but you are also complaining that they need you or that they need fixing or whatever. So it could be that Jay is attracting people that want a lot of things.
Could be. There's so much. So yeah, Jay, we both are accepting clients.
That's not.
But thank you, Nyasha, for weighing in on that one. I appreciate it. So we're going to close with a signature question. If you could leave the audience with one powerful truth to help them to rise and thrive, what would it be?
That's so much pressure. One powerful truth. I'm going to say a theme that we've had is information gathering. So I will say that you should lead with curiosity and be open to people learning you as well. And I think that's across the board, relationships of all kinds, work, romantic friendship.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Nyasha. That was really good. Like, I'm a big fan of curiosity. Be curious. All right. So, audience, this is where we shift to you. I want you to reflect. Where have I confused intensity with intimacy? What patterns am I ready to stop explaining away? And do I know my green flags or just my red flags? So, those are some 3 points I want you to reflect on. Then, I want you to take action. Write down 3 green flags that you want to see consistency. Excuse me, that you want to see consistently, not eventually. I will also want you to practice observing behavior over time instead of early investment emotionally and look too much because you might be taking on a little more than you're actually ready for. And then I want you to pause after dates and do some reflecting. How do I feel? Do you feel grounded? Do you feel settled? Where are you feeling it in your body? Like what's happening? And then I want to affirm you. I trust myself. I recognize red flags without fear and green flags without confusion. I choose relationships that feel safe. So, thank you again for joining us on Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole. Make sure you continue to send in your relationship letters and we'll break them down here with guests. Or sometimes you might just get the exclusive from Dr. J. Nicole. I also want to encourage you to check out the merch. Go to evolvedrjnicole.com. Go to the podcast page, click shop the merch. It'll be there for you. I'll also include the link in the description box below. Make sure you come back next week. We're going to have more for you in the month of love. And special thank you again to my good friend and soror, Dr. Nyasha, for joining us today and giving the psychological perspective on green and red flag.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in. All right, girl.